They still smile the same way, still speak in the same voice, still show up in the same places. But something about them feels different now. And what unsettles you most is this. You can't explain what changed. You can only feel it. Have you ever sat across from someone and sensed an invisible wall where warmth used to be? Not anger, not distance, not even coldness, just a strange shift in energy. A quiet unfamiliarity inside someone who once felt deeply familiar. It's one of the strangest pains a human being can experience when a person acts normal on the surface, but beneath their words, beneath their eyes, beneath the rhythm of how they exist around you, something has quietly moved. And because nothing obvious is wrong, you begin questioning yourself. Am I imagining this? Did I change? Did they? Or has something silently broken between us that words have not yet touched? Carl Jung once said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul." And sometimes, what changes in people has nothing to do with you, but everything to do with battles inside them they cannot explain, wounds they have hidden, truths they are avoiding, emotions they no longer know how to carry. Tonight, we're going into that silence, into the subtle shifts people never confess, into the invisible emotional distances that appear before relationships fully change. Because sometimes, the loudest transformation in a person is the one they never speak about, and deep down, you already feel it. Part 1. The eyes still look at you, but they no longer rest on you. There's a kind of attention that feels like being held. When someone is emotionally connected to you, their presence has weight. Their eyes settle when they look at you. Their energy lingers. Their listening feels alive, as though for a moment the world has narrowed down to this conversation, this moment, this connection. But when something changes inside them, the first thing that often leaves is invisible. Their emotional presence. They may still sit beside you but feel far away. They may still answer, but their words sound hollow. They may still look at you, but their gaze no longer lands. It passes through you, like someone standing in a room while their soul is somewhere else. You notice it in little things. The delayed replies that once came instantly, the distracted eyes during conversations, the warmth in their voice becoming neutral, their laughter becoming polite instead of genuine. Nothing dramatic happened, no argument, no clear betrayal, no obvious ending, and that's why it hurts more, because ambiguity is cruel. The philosopher Nietzsche wrote, "Invisible threads are the strongest ties." But what he understood, and what most people painfully learn, is that invisible threads can also quietly weaken, strand by strand, until one day you feel disconnected from someone who is still physically close. Think about a house during winter. From outside, it looks exactly the same. Same walls, same windows, same door. But step inside and the warmth is gone. That's what changed energy feels like. Not visible destruction, just missing warmth. And perhaps the hardest truth is this. Sometimes people emotionally leave places long before they physically leave them. Their body remains, their habits remain, their routine remains, but their spirit quietly begins retreating inward, and sensitive people always feel that shift first, not because they're overthinking, but because the heart notices what language hides. Part 2. They start protecting parts of themselves you once had access to. There is a sacred moment in every deep connection when two people begin lowering their armor. Not all at once, but slowly, naturally, like winter turning into spring. At first they tell you little things, then deeper things, then hidden things, their fears, their strange thoughts at 2 a.m., their childhood wounds, their insecurities they show no one else, their dreams they're almost embarrassed to say aloud. And without realizing it, you become more than a person in their life. You become a place they emotionally visit, a place of rest, a place of honesty, a place where their soul can exhale. But when something shifts inside them, that door quietly begins to close. Not loudly, not dramatically, quietly. They stop sharing what's on their mind. You ask how they are and hear, "I'm fine." But the words feel rehearsed, guarded, distant. You sense there is more beneath the surface. Pain, confusion, conflict, heaviness. But they no longer let you touch it. And what hurts is not simply their silence, it's knowing they used to trust you with what now remains hidden. Carl Rogers once wrote, "What is most personal is most universal." Human beings long to be seen deeply, to be understood without performance, to be emotionally known. So when someone suddenly hides themselves from you, it usually means one of three things. They are fighting something internally they cannot name. They fear vulnerability now feels dangerous, or the connection no longer feels emotionally safe to them in the way it once did. And this is where many people make a painful mistake. They chase openness. They push harder, ask more questions, demand explanations, reach with anxious hands toward a closing heart. But closed hearts do not open through force. They open through truth, safety, and willingness. Or sometimes, they never open again. Lao Tzu said, "Care about what other people think, and you will always be their prisoner." There is wisdom there, because when someone changes, your instinct is to desperately understand why, to decode every silence, to search every word for hidden meaning. But not every closed door is yours to reopen. Some people withdraw because they are lost inside themselves. Some withdraw because they are changing in ways that no longer align with who they were around you. Some withdraw because intimacy exposes truths they are not ready to face. And some simply become strangers slowly while standing in familiar skin. That is life's quiet heartbreak, watching access disappear where closeness once lived. Yet there is something important you must understand. Their silence is information. Their distance is communication. Their withdrawal is speaking, even when words do not. The soul always reveals itself through pattern. Watch that pattern. Listen to what is no longer shared. Notice what has become guarded. Because sometimes the deepest confession a person makes is in what they stop allowing you to see. Part 3. Their energy becomes unfamiliar, even when nothing looks different. There is a strange grief that has no clear funeral. It is the grief of sensing that someone is no longer who they once were, while they are still standing right in front of you. Same face, same voice, same routines, same good morning texts, same casual conversations. And yet, something in their spirit feels unfamiliar. You cannot hold it in your hands. You cannot prove it with logic. You cannot explain it to anyone without sounding dramatic. But your heart knows, because human beings speak long before words ever arrive. Through energy, through atmosphere, through subtle emotional frequencies we feel but rarely name. Carl Jung understood this when he said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." Every meaningful relationship transforms us. But transformation is not always growth together. Sometimes it is growth apart. Sometimes one person awakens while the other retreats. Sometimes one begins healing while the other remains attached to old wounds. Sometimes one becomes emotionally deeper while the other becomes emotionally unavailable. Sometimes life quietly reshapes a soul, and the connection no longer carries the same rhythm. Think of your favorite childhood home. Years later, you return. The walls remain, the rooms remain, the furniture may even remain, but it no longer feels the same. Because what made it alive was never just structure, it was spirit, memory, warmth, presence, meaning. People are the same. What makes someone feel familiar is not their appearance. It is their emotional essence. And when that essence shifts, the nervous system notices immediately. This is why you suddenly feel uneasy around someone who once felt safe. why conversations start feeling heavy, why silence becomes awkward where silence once felt peaceful, why your intuition whispers something is different. Buddha taught, nothing is forever except change. That truth is beautiful, but it is also painful, because we love people as if we are holding still photographs, when in reality we are loving rivers, always moving, always changing, never fully the same person twice. And perhaps maturity is learning this. Not everyone who changes is betraying you. Not everyone who feels different is becoming cruel. Not every emotional shift means deception. Sometimes they are simply becoming someone new, through pain, awakening, exhaustion, loss, ambition, trauma, or inner conflict. But here is where wisdom matters. You must stop arguing with what your soul already feels. Too many people remain attached to old versions of people who no longer exist. They keep speaking to memory, keep loving memory, keep expecting yesterday's warmth from today's stranger, and that creates silent suffering. The Stoics understood a difficult truth. Attachment becomes pain when reality changes, but expectation refuses to. So ask yourself honestly, are you connected to who they are now or who they used to be? Because sometimes what hurts is not losing a person. It is realizing you've been holding on to a ghost of who they once were. And ghosts never come back unchanged. Part 4. Sometimes they are fighting a silent battle, and you are feeling the shockwaves. One of the deepest mistakes human beings make is this. We personalize every shift. Someone becomes quieter. We think, I did something wrong. Someone pulls away. We think I'm no longer enough. Someone feels emotionally absent. We think they stopped caring. But often, the story is happening in rooms of their soul you were never invited to see. There are battles people fight in silence. The exhaustion of pretending to be okay. The private grief nobody knows they carry. The weight of family wounds they never healed. The anxiety that keeps them awake at night. The identity crisis that makes them question everything. The quiet depression that drains color from life itself. The guilt, shame, fear, regret, and loneliness they hide behind ordinary smiles. And because many people do not know how to say, I'm drowning inside, they simply become different. Camus wrote, in the depth of winter, I finally learned that within me there lay an invincible summer. But what he also understood was this. Before people discover that inner summer, many spend long seasons frozen inside themselves. And when someone is emotionally frozen, their warmth disappears, not because they hate you, but because they can barely feel their own heart. This is why compassion matters. Not blind attachment, not self-abandonment, not endless waiting for someone unwilling to grow, but compassion, the wisdom to understand. Their change may not be about you at all, yet compassion must walk beside truth. Because understanding someone's pain does not require you to live inside its shadow forever. Marcus Aurelius wrote, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Here is that strength. You cannot control who changes. You cannot force emotional honesty. You cannot heal wounds someone refuses to face. You cannot love another person into becoming who they used to be. But you can choose clarity. You can honor what your intuition feels. You can stop chasing explanations that never come. You can stop begging for warmth from emotionally closed doors. You can stop shrinking yourself to fit inside someone else's distance. And most importantly, you can release the need to make sense of every transformation. Because life is movement. People change, hearts wander, souls fracture and rebuild. Some connections deepen, others quietly dissolve. That is not cruelty. That is existence. So if someone in your life acts normal, but something about them feels different now, do not ignore what your spirit senses. Look gently, see clearly, Love wisely, and remember, sometimes the greatest act of self-respect is accepting that someone has changed, even when they never say a word, because silence speaks, energy speaks, distance speaks, and deep within, you already understand what your heart has been trying to tell you. The question is not whether you feel the change. The question is, will you finally listen? If this touched something unspoken inside you, perhaps it's because your soul recognized a truth your mind has been trying to avoid. Sit with that truth, not with fear, but with honesty, because awareness is where healing begins, and clarity is where peace quietly enters.